Hey there, welcome to your personalized deep dive on building muscle. We've got a stack of research and expert insights ready to help you achieve those gains you're after. Ever wonder if there are any muscle building, hacks backed by science? Well, get ready to find out. With me today is expert speaker, our guide through the world of exercise science. We're going to break it all down in a way that's both understandable and actionable.
Absolutely. Let's get started.
All right, so first things first, you've got to pick the right exercises. We've got Dr. Mike Israetel, a professor and bodybuilder with a PhD in sports physiology, weighing in on this. His take: you don't need a million different exercises, just a few key ones, and you need to stick with them for a while.
What's fascinating about Dr. Israetel's philosophy is this idea of exercise conservation. He believes that constantly changing up your routine can actually hinder progress. It's like trying to learn a new language every week. You're not giving yourself enough time to become fluent in any of them.
So stick with those key exercises and really master them. Makes sense. What were some of those key exercises that stood out to you?
Well, he's a huge advocate for straight leg calf raises over bent leg ones for, maximum gastrodynia stretch. He also really emphasizes hitting those side delts hard because he argues front and rear delts get enough work from other compound movements.
You heard it here first: straight leg calf raises and side delt focus on where it's at. But how does someone actually put this into practice?
Start by checking out Dr. Israetel's recommended exercises, which we'll link in the show notes. Pick 2 to 4 exercises per muscle group and stick with them for at least a few weeks. During those weeks, make sure you're really focusing on proper form and progressively overloading those exercises.
Progressive overload. Just to make sure everyone's on the same page, what exactly does that mean?
Of course, progressive overload basically means gradually increasing the challenge of your workouts over time. So you could add more weight, do more reps, or decrease your rest periods. The key is to consistently challenge your muscles so they continue to adapt and grow.
Got it. So we've nailed down exercise selection, but knowing what exercises to do is only half the battle. What about how we structure those exercises into a workout? That's where Dr. Brad Schoenfeld's research comes in. This guy is like the king of muscle hypertrophy research.
He really is. And his research suggests aiming for 10 to 20 sets per muscle group per week for optimal growth. But remember, this is a range, and it's adaptable. If you're just starting out, you might want to start on the lower end of that range, maybe 10 to 12 sets per muscle group. As you get more experienced, you can gradually increase the volume.
Interesting. So it's not just about the exercises themselves, but also how many sets you're doing for each muscle groups each week. He also talks about specialization cycles, right? Focusing on 1 or 2 stubborn muscle groups at a time. What's the deal with that?
Exactly. It's a great strategy for busting through plateaus. Let's say your chest is lagging behind. You might increase your chest volume to 20 sets per week for a few weeks while slightly reducing the volume for other muscle groups. You're basically giving that stubborn muscle group extra attention and resources to really stimulate growth.
So, using the work of both Dr. Israetel and Dr. Schoenfeld, could we actually create a sample workout split for our listener?
Absolutely. A classic upper-lower split could be a great starting point. One day you hit chest, back, shoulders, and triceps. Then the next day you focus on legs, glutes, and calves. You could even sprinkle in some of Dr. Israetel's calf raise and side delt wisdom there. But of course, this is just a template. The listener can adjust the split and exercises based on their individual needs and goals.
Okay, so we've got our exercises chosen and a sample workout split ready to go. But the age-old question remains, how much weight should I be lifting?
Ah, yes, the million-dollar question. To answer that, let's turn to Daniel Plotkin, a researcher at Built with Science, who's done some really cool research on rep ranges. His work suggests that the sweet spot for muscle growth is generally between 5 to 15 reps.
5 to 15, got it. So that's where I should aim for with most of my exercises, but what about how I progress? Should I be adding weight each week, or should I try to do more reps with the same weight?
That's a great question. And what's really cool is that Plotkin actually did a study comparing rep progression to weight progression. And guess what? Both methods led to similar muscle growth. So you don't have to feel like you need to constantly increase the weight to see gains. You can also focus on increasing the number of reps you could do with a given weight.
So either way works. Interesting. Is there a specific technique for using this information?
There is. It's called double progression, and it's a super simple but effective way to ensure you're consistently challenging yourself. Here's how it works. Choose a weight you can lift for 8 reps with good form. Next week, aim for 9 reps. Keep adding a rep each week until you hit 12. Once you hit 12, bump up the weight a little bit and start the process all over again.
Double progression. Simple but brilliant. I love it. All right, so far we've covered exercise selection, workout splits, volume, and even rep ranges. But there's one more question I know is burning in our listener's mind. How hard should I be pushing myself during each set? Should I be training to failure, or is that a recipe for burnout?
That's a really important question, and it's one that's been debated for ages in the fitness world. Luckily, we've got some solid research to guide us here.
Let's bring in Josh from Data Driven Strength. This guy's a data whiz, and he recently conducted a massive meta-analysis on training to failure. What did he find?
His research showed that training close to failure does lead to more growth. But there's a catch. It's more growth per set, but because it's so taxing, you might not be able to recover enough to do as many sets overall. So while you might squeeze every last drop out of each set, you might end up doing fewer sets in the long run because you're just wiped out.
So it's a bit of a balancing act. More intensity per set could mean less overall volume because you need more time to recover.
Exactly. And what's fascinating is that Josh is currently working on new research comparing high-volume training further from failure to low-volume training to failure. I can't wait to see what he finds.
Definitely. We'll have to do another deep dive on that when the results come out. In the meantime, what's your take on training to failure? Is it something you recommend?
Well, like we said, it depends. For beginners, I generally recommend staying a couple of reps shy of failure on most sets. This helps you avoid overdoing it and ensures you can maintain good form throughout your workout. Then, on the last set of each exercise, you can push yourself a little harder, maybe even to failure if you feel up to it. But as you get more experience and your body adapts, you can experiment with different approaches and find what works best for you.
Love that. So start conservatively, listen to your body, and don't be afraid to experiment as you get more comfortable. Now, are you ready for a muscle building hack?
I'm all ears.
This one comes from Dr. Milo Wolf, an expert on partial range of motion training. Specifically, he's a big fan of something called lengthened partials.
Now, this is where it gets really interesting. Lengthened partials involve performing partial reps, where you emphasize the stretched position of the movement. So think about the bottom of a bicep curl or the bottom of a lateral raise. You're spending more time under tension in that stretched position, which seems to really boost muscle growth.
Wait, so you're saying I don't always have to do the full range of motion on every exercise? 50% of my sets, that's a lot. Are there any downsides to doing so much partial range of motion work?
That's right, and you're right to question the amount. While Dr. Wolf uses this technique in about half of his own training, it's essential to be mindful of the exercises you choose and the potential for increased muscle soreness. This technique is best suited for isolation exercises like lateral raises, bicep curls, and tricep pushdowns. And definitely avoid using it with squats or deadlifts.
Makes sense. So how would someone actually incorporate this into their training?
You can swap out some of your full range of motion sets with lengthened partials, or you can add them at the end of a set when you can't eke out another full rep. For example, let's say you're doing bicep curls and you hit 8 reps with good form. Instead of stopping there, you could continue doing partial reps from the bottom half of the movement for another 3 to 4 reps.
Okay, so we've covered training in detail, but even the best training program won't get you far without the right fuel. Let's dive into the nutrition secrets that will power your muscle growth.
Absolutely. We can't forget about nutrition. It's the foundation for everything.
Exactly. And I know there's a lot of talk about needing a calorie surplus to build muscle, but is that always true?
It's a common belief, but it's not always necessary. To break this down, we're turning to Dr. Eric Helms, a pro bodybuilder and researcher who really knows his stuff. He says that if you're new to lifting and have a bit of body fat to spare, you can actually maximize muscle growth at maintenance calories or even a slight deficit. Your body has more potential to build muscle in that untrained state. There's even research showing that untrained men can gain a pound of lean mass per week while eating a large calorie surplus.
Wow. So you don't always need to duff your face to build muscle. If you're new to lifting, maintaining your calories or even eating slightly less could be the ticket to maximizing those newbie gains. But what about those of us who aren't new to lifting? What kind of calorie surplus should we aim for?
Dr. Helms recommends scaling your calorie surplus based on your experience level. So if you're a beginner, you could aim for a surplus of 300 to 500 calories. If you're more intermediate, that surplus drops to 200 to 300 calories. And advanced lifters may only need an extra 100 to 200 calories per day.
Okay, that makes sense. So calories are dialed in. Now let's talk about the building block of muscle protein. For this, we're going to consult the legendary Alan Aragon, one of the world's leading nutrition researchers.
Aragon's research has consistently shown that aiming for 1.6 to 2.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight, or 0.7 to 1 gram per pound, is ideal for muscle growth.
That's a solid chunk of protein, but how do you make sure you're getting it all in?
Aragon emphasizes the importance of spreading your protein intake evenly throughout the day, so don't just slam a protein shake after your workout and call it the day. Aim for at least 3 protein-rich meals spread throughout the day.
So protein all day long. Got it. Now let's talk about protein sources. Are some sources better than others?
Aragon recommends getting a mix of protein sources in your diet. Think lean meats, fish, poultry, dairy, legumes, and even whey protein.
Variety is key. All right, before we move on, I've got one more nutrition surprise for you. Are you ready for this?
Hit me with it.
Could eggs be a secret weapon for muscle growth? I know it sounds crazy, but there's research out there comparing the effects of whole eggs to egg whites on testosterone levels after a workout.
Ah, yes, the Bugari study. The results were pretty shocking. The whole egg group experienced a massive testosterone boost, like a 239 nanogram per deciliter increase. It's thought that the cholesterol content of whole eggs might be playing a role in that boost.
Wow, that's huge. Okay, so not only are eggs a great source of protein, but they might also be giving your testosterone a little boost.
Now, I know we've thrown a lot of information at you today, but I think it's important to remember that there's no one-size-fits-all approach to muscle building.
That's so true. What works best for one person might not work for another. It's all about finding what works best for you and your body. Exactly. Think of it like a recipe. You've got all these great ingredients, but you might need to adjust the measurements or swap out certain ingredients to create a dish that suits your taste.
I love that analogy. So let's break down a few key areas where individualization is especially important, starting with training intensity.
Right. We talked about Josh from Data-Driven Strengths Research, which showed that training close to failure can lead to more growth per set, but it also leads to more fatigue.
Exactly. Some people might thrive on pushing themselves to the absolute limit, while others might find that they need to pull back a bit to avoid burnout. And it can even change over time as you get more experienced and your body adapts.
And then there's the question of workout splits. We talked about a classic upper-lower split, but that's not the only option. I've seen people doing full-body workouts 3 times per week, and others swear by the push-pull leg split.
That's right. And even within a given split, you can adjust the exercises based on your individual needs. Let's say you have a shoulder injury that prevents you from doing barbell overhead presses. You could easily swap that exercise out for a dumbbell variation or a machine press. The point is, you have the power to customize your plan to suit your body and your goals.
It's all about listening to your body and making adjustments as needed. Don't be afraid to experiment. You might be surprised at what you discover works best for you. Now, this idea of individualization doesn't just apply to training, it applies to nutrition as well, right?
Absolutely. We talked about Dr. Helms's recommendations for calorie surpluses, but those are just guidelines. Your actual calorie needs will depend on a bunch of factors like your age, your activity level, your metabolism, even your body composition.
And the same goes for 19 intake. That 1.6 to 2.2 grams per kilogram of body weight is a great starting point, but you might need to adjust that based on your training intensity, your goals, and how your body responds.
Some people find they need a little more protein to really see those muscle gains, while others do just fine on a slightly lower intake. Pay attention to how your body feels and make adjustments accordingly. This is one of the areas where a good coach or a knowledgeable trainer can really help. They can help you personalize your plan and make sure you're on the right track for your specific needs.
Having a coach is like having a personalized map to guide you through this whole muscle building journey. Now, before we wrap things up, I want to leave our listener with a final thought-provoking question.
Oh, I like it. Let's hear it.
If you could ask any of these muscle-building experts one question, what would it be? What are you most curious about? What gaps in your knowledge are you itching to fill? Think about it. Is there a specific training technique you'd love to learn more about? Maybe you're wondering about the latest research on supplements.
Write it down, share it in the comments, or just ponder it on your own. It's a great way to keep your brain engaged and keep pushing forward on your muscle-building journey.
And remember, this deep dive is just the beginning. There's always more to learn and discover, but with the knowledge you've gained today, you're well on your way to building the physique of your dreams.
Go out there, put this knowledge into action, and get ready to see those muscles grow.
Now, you know me, I'm always looking for those extra little edges, those things that can give you a boost beyond the fundamentals.
Sometimes those little details make all the difference.
Exactly. And that's why I wanted to circle back to something we talked about earlier, testosterone. We discussed how whole eggs might have a positive impact on testosterone levels, but I think testosterone is such a crucial hormone for muscle growth that it deserves a little more attention.
It's often called the male hormone, but it plays a vital role in building muscle for both men and women.
Right. Testosterone helps kickstart protein synthesis, which is the process that actually builds new muscle tissue. So anything that can safely and naturally boost testosterone levels could help amplify those muscle gains. Now, I'm definitely not suggesting you run out and start taking testosterone supplements or anything like that. It's always important to talk to a doctor before making any decisions about hormone therapy.
For sure. But there are natural ways to support healthy testosterone levels.
And that's what I want to focus on for these last few minutes. We've already talked about diet and how crucial it is to get enough protein from a variety of good sources. But what about lifestyle factors? Can those impact testosterone levels?
They can, big time. Sleep is a great example. Getting enough quality sleep is essential for regulating all sorts of hormones, including testosterone. When you're sleep deprived, your body produces more of the stress hormone cortisol, and cortisol can actually suppress testosterone production.
So we've got sleep, stress management, and strength training all playing a role in those testosterone levels. It's amazing how interconnected all these things are.
It really is. It's not just about lifting weights and eating protein. It's about creating a lifestyle that supports muscle growth.
And that's what I love about this deep dive. It's given us a chance to really explore all the different factors that go into building muscle.
We've covered a ton of ground, from choosing the right exercises to structuring your workouts, from training intensity to nutrition, and even those lifestyle tweaks that can make all the difference.
We've tapped into the expertise of some of the brightest minds in the field, like Dr. Israetel, Dr. Schoenfeld, Dr. Wolf, Dr. Helms, and Alan Aragon. I feel like I've learned so much.
Me too. It's been a fascinating journey.
And the best part is this is just the beginning for our listener. With all the knowledge they've gained from this deep dive, they're well on their way to building the physique of their dreams.
Exactly. This deep dive has been like providing them with a toolkit packed with evidence-based strategies. Now it's their turn to experiment, see what works best for them, and create a personalized plan that will help them achieve their goals.
Yes, they've got the knowledge, they've got the tools. Now it's time to take action and put it all to work. And don't forget, building muscle should be a fun and rewarding process. It's not just about the end result, it's about enjoying the journey along the way.
Absolutely. Celebrate those small wins, embrace the challenges, and never stop learning. The world of fitness is constantly evolving, and there's always something new to discover.
That's what I love about it. It's a lifelong journey of exploration and growth, both physically and mentally.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, I think that wraps it up for this deep dive into muscle building secrets. We've covered a ton of information, but remember, the key is to take this knowledge and make it your own. Experiment, find what works for you, and never stop learning.
And hey, if you have any questions along the way, feel free to reach out in the comments or connect with us on social media. We're always happy to help.
Until next time, keep lifting, keep learning, and keep growing.
And keep diving deep.
That's a wrap. See you in the next episode.